exposed to a lot of information. But if you go through it with your best efforts, the reward is well worth it.
Being an ONB intern has broadened my perspective on programming as a whole. What's more is that it was not just all about programming. I also improved in collaboration, communication, and everything that hones a true expert.
It was daunting at first, but the people here really want you to succeed. It's a good place to test the limits of your potential. I mean, look at Jeman.
Our internship lasted for around 3 months, after which we were then directly absorbed by the company as employees. The first 2 months of the internship was our learning phase. We learned about React, we learned about Spring Boot, JPA, Agile, and wireframes. The last month was set aside for our final project, which was a coffee shop application. Using all the knowledge we've learned from the past 2 months, we built an application that will allow a user to order a coffee of their choice through a website. It sounds very simple, but the hard part of it actually lies elsewhere. The hard part of it is adhering to professional practices, making sure that the code is readable, that the user experience is smooth, and that the architecture of your code and the application as a whole should actually make sense.
Yes, we definitely learned a lot during those 3 months. And not to mention, it was very fun. We got to experience what it was like to do sprints, talk to our bosses, and do something that matters to ONB. And it all paid off. After our internship, ONB hired us as fully fledged employees. The management here is great, and they're also very flexible in terms of our work hours. Even now, after almost a year of working at ONB, I have yet to have a bad experience.
The hardest part about React. If I were to name one, I think it would be the React hooks. Well, actually, this challenge goes back to the very first task of our internship, the to-do list. At that time, I had no idea on what's going on with my code. Especially the React hooks, I have zero knowledge on them. So what I did was, I coded the way I would normally do with HTML and JavaScript. And I just didn't utilize the React hooks. Well, I was using them, but in the wrong way. At that time, I was only thinking, as long as it works. So after like 5 hours or so, our code will be reviewed by our mentor, Sir Jerome. While reviewing my code, he was really kind enough to tell me my mistakes while not being too harsh about it. And I didn't learn everything at the get-go, but Sir Jerome was able to point out the areas that should be improved and how to use use states, which is, by the way, an example of React hooks. Now, here's the thing. Resources are available all over the internet, but mentors who would personally guide and help you is something I only experienced at ONB. So what I thought the hardest, which are the React hooks, are something I can comfortably use now.
At first, it wasn't easy at all. Our inexperience and us being total strangers meant that we had to go out of our comfort zones. With the internship being remote, it meant all of our interactions were online. As our main point of communication, we used Discord. Because 1, we were already familiar with it. And 2, it made messaging and calling one another much easier. And for project management, we use Miro. It's an easy-to-learn project management app. We were actually one of the first ONB teams to use Miro. We use it from planning sprint sessions, holding retrospectives, to creating our storyboards. We collated everything there in one big whiteboard-like plane.
As someone who has no prior experience in the industry, the most valuable part of the project is learning how to write clean code. Before taking this internship, my only mindset when programming was, as long as I understand it, it's fine. The thought of other people reading my code was something I didn't prioritize at all at that time. But then ONB taught me the importance of writing understandable code. ONB taught me how to properly name variables and functions, refactor code, structure project, and a lot more. There's actually this one phrase that really stuck with me. Write your code as if you are writing a story. As we all know, stories are easy to read, and that should go for our code as well. With this in mind, my way of writing code has changed for the better.
A valuable part of the internship for me was learning React. React introduced me to a whole new way of writing front-end code. With the states, with the hooks, with the components, React is a very confusing subject. But through continuously learning and continuously asking a lot of questions, which by the way I would not have been able to do if I was learning on my own, through that, learning React became easier. It was actually this process, the process of being confused about something, but still continuing to learn and continuing to ask questions. It was that process that was the most valuable part of the internship for me. Even at my current work at ONB, I was able to use that process to adapt and learn new technologies such as Kubernetes, virtual clusters, and feature management.
Being an ONB intern requires a lot of grit and passion. You're not here to replace senior engineers. You're here to learn and gain experience. Have an open mind and accept criticisms because you'll receive lots of it. And trust me, they'll help you grow.
I really believe with all my heart that if your priority is learning, then ONB is the best place for you. They offer you courses, trainings, mentorship, you name it, and ONB will give that to you. For the record, I have learned more in my 2 months at ONB than in my past 4 years of learning programming by myself.
For me, it's the learning culture. Everyone here at ONB is always learning something new. Even the CEO, the COO, and the VP, they're always learning something and sharing what they learned through our group chats. After all, continuous learning is the path to becoming a true expert.